Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
There, I just got my sound. Great.
Welcome, everybody.
A few minutes to start, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Sarah, I want to thank you for doing this.
You are very welcome. It's important. We got to know what we're doing.
Much appreciated, and I think we're all really eager.
Oh, I'm excited.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey. Hi. It's a little bright in my office. I don't like this. Turn this. Let's see.
Oh, she want to be with the school counselors?
I did. She probably did. Well, no, I didn't. I saw her in the.
I'm going to invite you guys to mute yourselves once you get in and get comfortable.
Okay. I saw her.
If you don't know how to mute yourself, it's the microphone in the lower left-hand corner.
Okay, so I saw her on the what do you call it? On the invitation, and I saw that you weren't on it. That's why I forwarded.
Oops.
Sarah, I think that you can mute if they don't mute themselves.
I have been.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure you know you can do that.
Yep, thank you. All right, it is 4 o'clock. We are going to get started. And then hopefully everybody will join in as they get here. You guys should all be able to see the PowerPoint I have up on my screen now, yes?
Yes, Sarah.
All right, good. So, oops, let me get that chat box open. All right, I'm a Google girl. It's been a while since I played in Zoom, so excuse me if I get slow.
Sarah, could I just, on behalf of the Connecticut School Counselor Association, just want to thank you for doing this. My name's Eileen Melody, and I'm serving as the chairman this year. Sarah stepped up the other day and offered this for all of us. And as you can see, we're up to over 197 participants. Last night, we needed to upgrade our Zoom account from the capability of just 100 to the capability of 500 to make this a possibility for all of you today. So I think we're going to learn a lot. We're really grateful to you, Sarah. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for doing that, because I think this is important. We're going to be doing this whether we like it or not, and we should figure out how to do it. As we go through, I welcome you to ask questions, to put them in the chat box, to speak them out. If we could just be mindful of not speaking over everybody else, that would be fabulous. So my name is Dr. Sarah Zalewski. I am a school counselor in a middle school in Manchester at Illing Middle School. I am also an LPC and board certified in telemental health. And what that really means is I took a lot of courses in the big ugly exam, and I decided I would do that every year to keep that credential. Because I think it's an important way, especially in Connecticut where the weather can be weird, to keep consistency with my clients. And now this is an important way for us all to communicate because we're all on lockdown. So I'm glad you guys could all join us for this. So in the chat box quickly, I am curious, how comfortable are you with the thought of doing counseling through a modality like this? Just put a 1 if you're confident, you're not worried, somewhere up to a 10 if you are absolutely terrified. All right. See a lot in the middle there. Someone has their mic open. I'm muting you. Sorry. It's echoing.
Is it me?
Could be. I'll mute you. There we go. All right. So I see some feel pretty confident and some don't, but most everybody is in the middle. So hopefully we'll all be better by the time we reach the end of this presentation. So one thing you all need to do, and we're not going to spend a lot of time focusing on this because you're going to learn this from your district. I don't know your individual district policies, but you certainly need to. You need to know what to do in a crisis. That is important. What if you're on the phone with someone and they say, hey, I can't take this anymore and I want to die? That could happen. You're going to have to deal with that. So know your district policies. Parent contact. Know how you're supposed to be including parents per your district in this. Some are going to have different policies than others. The platforms available. I am assuming a lot of us are going to be using Google in some form. Google Hangouts Meet might be something that you guys are familiar with or have heard tossed around recently. Zoom is a little pricey, so I'm assuming that's probably not going to be it. But if it is, you're lucky because it's a great platform. I personally, in my practice, use Google Hangouts Meet with my clients because it's not pricey and it works well. But what you really need to know is you need to know the policies. And more importantly, because these policies are being created by people who aren't necessarily counselors and maybe don't think the same way we do, you need to advocate. If you see something's wrong, something's missing, if you're concerned, you need to advocate for those policies because you guys know best what a counselor needs and what the kids need. So ethics, another big important thing. The ASCA Code of Ethics still applies, even more so. They actually just released a planning for virtual distance school counseling notice. It is linked on our CSCA webpage, which Virginia has been putting together, and I appreciate that very much. So go in there and look, and there's also the school counselor and virtual school counseling position statement that ASCA did in 2017, another good thing to read. I'm looking at the chat box now. Free Zoom, I know it is not HIPAA compliant. You're gonna have to look and work with your district. If you're using that for counseling through your district, they might have some problems with that. So, good question to ask. Online counseling, boundaries. So many boundaries, so much more than ever before. Because if you are using video counseling, you're in someone's house. You can see things through that video that you normally would never see. Likewise, they can see things through your camera that they never could see. And if you just look around at some of the people's backgrounds that are in here, you will know that you can see into their houses, right? You're like, oh, like Eileen's got some really cute pictures behind her. Things that our kids would never know about us. So, boundaries. Google Hangouts and Google Meet is HIPAA compliant if it is done through their G Suite and it is purchased. There's a BAA, which is the Business Administrator Agreement that needs to be signed. Just again, reading that in the chat. Ethics, we need to think about access to our school counselors. How are the kids getting to you? Is that equitable? And what do they do when they can't find you? Confidentiality. This is a whole new world of confidentiality. Because when the kids in my office, I'm pretty certain their parents aren't there with them. But when I'm in a house talking like this with someone, I don't know who's with my kids. Right now, this is going to be tricky, knowing where to refer. Because a lot of places aren't doing face-to-face counseling right now. So you may need to reach out in your local community and just check in and see who's doing what. Because everything is very different now than it was 2 weeks ago. And informed consent. You also have to be able to do informed consent and let them know what they're getting into, just like any other kind of counseling. All right, questions about any of that before I go on to the fun stuff? Okay, definitely ask your district some of these questions. Oh, did I hear a question?
Yeah, and regarding informed consent, does anybody have a consent form that they are emailing? How are people getting consent to counsel in this virtual world?
I think that's a great question. And I'm going to welcome you guys to add that into the chat box. I will tell you that the in Connecticut, the legislation has said we just need verbal informed consent for LPCs, which is usually a higher level of consent than a school counselor. So the legislators have said we just need to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. These are the risks, the benefits. This is what could happen. This is what I'm going to do. And if they say, yeah, let's go for it, then we're good. Good question, though. And your district, again, these are district policies that should be addressed at the district level. Everybody's district's going to be pretty different. I do that individually at the beginning of every session, just because it's important. Good question. So technical details. A microphone, you need a microphone. No one's going to hear you in video conferencing if you don't have a microphone. And that microphone might be attached to your headset that you wear with a little wand that sticks out. And in that case, you know where it should be. It might be like on your earbuds with it hangs down. What you should know is you really don't need to yell into it. They're designed to pick up normal conversational volume. So yelling into it is just going to deafen whoever you're counseling with. You shouldn't have to bend over and speak into it. You shouldn't have to lift it up. It should just pick you up perfectly the way it is. Your camera. You need a webcam if you're going to do face-to-face online counseling. Again, have it set so that it's about eye height, so you can look into it, and that when you're working with your client, it's like you're looking at them. I'm assuming for most of us, if we're using a laptop, we don't have a choice in where that goes. It's the top and center. If you have a separate webcam, then you want to adjust it so that it's about eye level, because it's important for them to think that you're looking at them, that you're appreciating them, and you're connecting. Speakers. You want to have speakers because you need to hear what they're saying. Be mindful here that you're keeping your speakers and your microphone further apart. Otherwise, it creates an echo. Much the same as I'm going through and muting people if I'm hearing them. If you have your speakers next to your microphone, it's going to create an echo when you're counseling. Close your other windows. Super important. Those notifications that pop up are horribly distracting. They distract me. They distract our kids. So if you can clear out those other windows and make them go away, it also helps keep the internet gremlins at bay, like lagging and video drag, all those other things that you don't want to see. So you should also know the difference between Wi-Fi and Ethernet. Wi-Fi is where you just have your computer, and I'm sure most of you know this, so forgive me, but it needs to be said. Wi-Fi is where your computer connects wirelessly to the internet. Ethernet is where it's plugged into an actual cord. If your network is unstable or if it's not the best network, you are best off having an Ethernet cable connect your computer to the internet. That gives you the best connection. DSL versus cable. Know what you have. If you have DSL, it's good, but you probably don't have nearly as much bandwidth as someone on cable. Bandwidth is how we send messages through. If I have more bandwidth, I can send more messages, and video takes a lot of bandwidth. So if you do have DSL, you want to be extra careful about having all your other windows closed, because having them open, even though you're not using them, that can suck down some of your precious bandwidth. So make certain those are all closed. If your computer might do Microsoft updates and you're on DSL, like schedule those. Do them when you are not trying to do video counseling, because those will suck up a lot of your bandwidth. Cable, you're better off, but it's not perfect either. Depending on what cable package you have, you may or may not have enough bandwidth. Questions about this stuff? All right. So your space, this is important. This is what people see. Your background should ideally be light colored. There shouldn't be a window behind, an open window behind you with the light streaming in, because then it kind of looks like Morgan Freeman in that movie where he was God with all the light coming behind him. That's not who you want to be. You want to be a counselor. So make certain that it's just boring behind you. Plants are nice. Unfortunately, I got kicked out of my usual space because someone else needed it. I have a TV here, but it's boring and blank, and it's not doing anything interesting. If I had really dark hair, it would look weird because it would look like I was growing out of the TV. But, you know, that hasn't been a problem for years. Be mindful of your privilege. And I know we think about that as counselors, but think about that in terms of what's showing in your background. If you are someone who doesn't have space in the house, and so you are in your pantry, and behind you is a boring but well-stocked shelf of food, that could be hard for some of our kids to see right now. So be mindful of your privilege and what you're showing in the background. Make sense? Have a comfortable chair. Absolutely, you need a comfortable chair if you're going to be sitting for any length of time, because you don't want to be fidgeting. And if you're someone like me who fidgets anyways, an uncomfortable chair is going to make it way worse. Be comfortable. Lighting, it should come in the same direction as the camera. Like where I am set up right now, I have a light about 3 feet behind the camera facing this direction. And I also have a couple of open windows. Open windows are great to have, again, not behind you in the full daylight. Be mindful of the shadows, and it's better if the hue is more of a natural. That's better for your brain too than having fluorescent stare at you. And if you're not certain how that works, you can open up Google Meet and you can be the only one in there and you can fiddle with moving things around so it looks right. And noise. This is obvious, right? We don't want a lot of noise while we're meeting with our students. However, sometimes we can't control that because we are all home right now with our families, a lot of us. And if we have kids, they're not necessarily quiet, or at least mine aren't. So just be aware, warn them, bribe them. Noise can be a real distractor, and you never know if you have kids what they're about to say. So you, wear pants, please. I don't know if you guys have all seen some of the memes out there, but you know, that just, or the poor lady who took her laptop was in class and or a meeting and took her laptop to the bathroom. Don't be that person. Be prepared. Have everything around you that you need. If you need a drink, if you need your glasses to see, if you need tissues, whatever, have that there. Dress professionally. You are meeting with students. I mean, we don't need a coat and tie here, but we need to not have something really inappropriate on. And keep your face in the frame, because the kid is interacting with you, and most of the pictures I see on the side, you guys are doing great. I'm seeing your head and shoulders, and like I could interact with you. I feel like you're there. But if it's just a tiny little picture to the side, that's not great. So privacy in your house.
Shh.
Yes. Shh. Oh, here we go. Privacy in your house. Think about if people can hear you where you are. If they can hear you and there's just no way around it, and for some of us that is the case, if you wear a headset, your students, whatever they say is trapped in that headset, and your family isn't going to hear it. Earbuds, whatever. They will only hear what you're saying, which helps a little bit in the realms of confidentiality if you are keeping your students' voices to yourself. Think about if you can lock the door. Plan for your kids, plan for your family, your critters. I had to put my dog in her crate right now because it's about dinner time. She would be singing her song to me. And y'all didn't want to hear that. And I just always remember that BBC interview with Robert Kelly where his kids and his wife are in the background while he's trying to be very serious. Don't be that person. But if you are, he handled it like a pro. Questions so far, guys? Okay. So here we go. We're going to have a session now. So this is how I do it. Your district will have different policies. Best practices says when you're working with kids, you want to know there's a parent around. You want to establish that. So when I start, I have kid and parent together. I just say hi. I check to see where they are. And this is super important. And this probably needs to be in your district policies. Because my student might, in the computer, says they're living in Manchester. However, I don't know. Maybe that student went to go visit someone down in North Carolina. And then I'm really, because we've arranged this through email, I'm really talking to someone who's physically located in North Carolina. So first, if you are counseling someone in another state, school counseling is different. Clinical counseling, that's a big no-no. But you need to work through that with your district. What are we going to do if that happens, if there's someone's in a different state? If there's an emergency, like if that student says, oh, I cut myself last night, or I don't want to live, or I'm scared about what's happening in my family, and you need to call authorities. If you don't know where they are, you can't call them. So please know exactly where your kids are. I ask for an address. If I don't recognize the background and I don't know whose house they're in, and I say, where are you guys at? What's the address there? You need to know that. And then when I'm starting a session, I talk about confidentiality. I let them know that I would like it to be confidential what I'm saying with my student, and I'll ask the parents to give them space. And I also acknowledge that while we're here, I cannot control the volume of their computer, and it's possible that their parents are hearing it. And I address that a couple of times throughout as we're doing a session. Yes, someone said, should you let them know? You absolutely should. If you only have one phone, your cell phone, and someone says I'm actively cutting, how do we handle getting 211 or 911 help while we're still on the phone with them? I would not advise you to be doing sessions on your phone just for that, unless you have someone else in the house and you can have their cell phone nearby. Because if it were a crisis, I would want to stay with that student in communication while I'm calling, and I would tell them what I'm doing probably, but while I'm calling for help on the other phone, and I'm not going to hang up until I know they're there. *67. That's what, yep, that's what blocks your phone number from being seen. Don't do that if you're calling 911. All right. So I also plan right when I'm starting a session that we're going to be disconnected. We're going to have lag, that it's going to be some internet gremlin is going to strike. 211 is going into home in some occasion, in some circumstances. They're trying to do it by phone first. So plan from the start. Say, hey, so this is going to happen. If I get disconnected from you, what should we do? Should I try again? Should I call this phone number? What should we do? And make a plan right then at the start when the parents are there. Informed consent. And I tell them, it's different. We're going to have to work on really trying to understand each other. You're going to have to ask me questions if you're not certain, because you can't see my body language. You're going to have to, I'm going to have to ask you if I can't see your body language and I'm not certain. And I'm going to let them know it might be better, it might be worse than being in our office. A lot of kids are just naturally familiar with this. This is what they've grown up with. Looking at the questions. Any questions? It's moving too fast.
Sarah, there was a question someone had asked, I think that would be good to address, is that, so we aren't to have meetings, Google Meets, if the parents aren't home? That's, someone had asked that question. I think that's a good one I'd like answered myself.
I wouldn't do it myself unless it was a student, or if it was in my clinical practice, I wouldn't, unless I was really 100% certain I could get a hold of the parent and that this was not a student who, or a child who was ever going to present risk. That question is an awesome one, and that is one that you're really going to have to get your district policies to address, because you want everybody to be consistent with that, and you want to know that your administration is behind you 100%. If you say, I'm not comfortable meeting with you if your parent's not home, that's a point that needs to be addressed, probably at the district level. Thank you. I see a lot of talk about *67. Yeah, it works. All right, so once I do start that informed consent, we talk about the internet gremlins, say hello to the parents and know their physical address, then I ask the parents to go away. Like, okay, it's time for me to be with the student, and, you know, go do something and keep yourself busy, and then I work with the student. Create a routine, check in, 0 to 10, how was your week? What's going well, what's not going well? How comfortable are you with the school? And what's the uncomfortable part? How are things for you? You guys, you can throw out in the chat box ways that you would start a session, ways that you, like, what is your routine? What is your check-in with your kids? The rose and thorn, I like that one. That's a good one. The mood meter on the ruler. Yep. Okay, mood meter. That's a great one. Scaling is easy. Everybody gets that, the mood meter. And if you've been working with your kids in your office and you have some way that you've been starting in a practical way you're doing it, keep that up. Like if I work with my kids in my office and I ask 0 to 10 and 0 is horrible and 10 is best ever, that's the same way I'm going to start a session online, because it's the routine. It's what we know, and routines are comforting and helpful. All right, so then I'm going to work with my kid. I'm going to ask, is anyone in the room with you? Can people hear us? Is that okay with you? You comfortable? Okay. And they may say, yeah, mom's right there, but I don't care. In which case, I cannot, as a school counselor, kick out that parent unless we have a district policy that says that's okay to do, which we're probably not going to have, let's be real. I'm not going to kick them out, but I want to know. And I'm going to remind them, remember, sometimes gremlins strike and we'll have lag. You won't hear a word. An ambulance will drive by my house just as I'm saying something important, and it might happen the same for you. And we just need to remember to ask each other if we don't understand. I'm going to ask them to close any unnecessary windows, just like I have. And the most important thing here is be real, be congruent, just like you would in any counseling session. You're counseling. This is counseling, the same as it is in an office in many respects. It's collaborative. We're focusing on the relationship. We're trusting each other. It's individualized. And right now, I think an important part of what we're doing is bringing in hope, because a lot of our kids are really struggling, and they're having a hard time understanding what's going on in their world. They miss their friends. Oh, that's a good question, Chris. Yes, I don't video, and I would, I don't know that most platforms give the student or the client the ability to video, but yes, that's a good thing to address. Thank you. So remember, it's just counseling. With that said, you can do lots of really cool things when you're online counseling kids. Sharing the screens. You need to learn how to share your screen. That is such an important tool, and leads us to, we can do fun things like, sorry guys, bibliotherapy, where it is not showing up on my screen right now. Hold on. All right, and be prepared because these things happen. We can do bibliotherapy just by sharing our screen. So right here is a meditation. In breath, out breath. It's a book. We can scroll through it. Another great book, I'm Not Afraid to Fail. And I just would read this just like I would in person, because we can do that. And you don't need to do that. Many of us, if we have kids, have books laying around the house. And if we don't, we may still have some books laying around the house. Dr. Seuss. It can be super comforting to do something old and familiar in scary times. So maybe I'm breaking out Dr. Seuss. What did the big firecracker say to the little firecracker? My pop's bigger than your pop. Great books for bibliotherapy. Berenstain Bears. Everybody has those. They're wonderful. Julia Cook has some great books. Amazon delivers. How do you do the book? Okay, so the books, you can go online through your public library and get ebooks, including kids' books. So I encourage you to figure that out. Amazon, the ones I just showed were Amazon Kindle books. You can get, if you join their Amazon Kindle program, you get a certain number of, I want to say it's 10 a month, and it's $10 a month, which for me is a great, super great value. So I have books through there, and I use those books. So another thing that you guys can do, and again, being in the kids' house is amazing. You have so many things that are available to you that I encourage you to use. And one of them is you're in the kids' house. So show and tell. Absolutely do that. And be prepared to reciprocate for show and tell. Like, I might start with, I have a squishy ball that I use when I'm stressed. What do you do in your house when you're stressed? Can you show me? Go get it. Show me. easy and important things that you can do because you have so much access. Be mindful of how you're using it, but having your child show you what their stress reliever is, excellent. And it reinforces that they have the ability to get those. Younger kids, even some older kids, Simon says they just need to do something fun. And you can talk about being frustrated. You can talk about being upset and how it's kind of cool to boss around a grown-up. Similarly, play charades. So you can act out, pick a theme, because what your background in knowledge and their background in knowledge is probably dissimilar, but pick a theme. Say you're going to emotions. And as we know, a lot of people, including kids, really can't identify emotions. So you can work back to back. I'm going to make this face. What does it mean? Charades. Make it a game. Questions so far? Speak out because I seem to have lost my chat bubble. All right. Next is Google Jamboard. And I don't know if anybody has used Google Jamboards, but it is probably one of the coolest things that you can do with a computer. So can you all see the Google Jamboard on my computer now? All right. So you're in Google, and yes, high school students are here, and they like the little cool stuff, the little kids stuff. Don't let them tell you that they don't. Some of them really do, especially when they're nervous and anxious. So a Google Jamboard. I'm going to go in the lower right-hand corner and click the plus to start a jam. Here we go. Upper right-hand corner, blue box, just like everybody else. Share. Can you guys see it? Okay. So things you can do here. If you look on the left, you have a pen icon. You can pick a different color. You can pick a watercolor brush. It works really great if you have a touch screen. If you don't, you can still use it any other way. You have, of course, the eraser where you can go and erase things. You can add sticky notes. And you put those on the screen, all over the screen. Really cool part of it. And remember, this is collaborative. Your student is doing this with you. You can go, oops, not Google Drive, Google image search, and I say I'm looking for a smile. And I'm putting a smile in the document. All the things that you can do. So maybe one of the things that you're going to do is draw your family group right now. Get there, and if your kid's on some kind of tablet, it might even be better for them. Draw your family group. And give everybody a thought bubble for what they're feeling right now. And you can go through and do your whole family or friend group that way. Use the colors to express how they're feeling. This, for older kids, you're going to make lists. Say a pro and con if they're trying to figure out how to do something, a pro and con. And remember, you can use, you can go in and get pictures off of the internet and have them, they can put those in there. You can put words. You can do all kinds of things, make lists. This is whatever you and your student can think about, you can do. Christina, yes, the student can draw. It's not necessarily hosted on your computer. It's hosted in the interwebs. It does not live in your computer. It will live on your drive. Could it be a collaboration between a whole caseload? I haven't hit a limit, so it could be. But you just need to be monitoring it because there's also a lot of freedom. They can put whatever. Have them find the emoticons that express how they feel. Work together, taking turns to create a picture. These are all things you can do, and I bet you guys can think of other things that you can do. Who's got some thoughts? for some other things you could do. Can you delete what they do? Absolutely, you can erase the screen. How do you invite your kids? You go to the page in the upper right-hand corner, there is a blue box that says share. That's how you do that. It does not have a voice component that I have found, although I wouldn't be surprised if it came along eventually. Do a playlist of songs. Did I just see that? That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah, you can type in it in the sticky notes. No, you don't need a Google account. How do you find it? In the upper right-hand corner of your screen where you have the little hash mark, you click on that and it's a J, a yellow J to find Jamboard. When you go to google.com. And that's how you open it. Use emojis to create a flower garden of feelings. That would be awesome. I like that. The possibilities are endless. You can do so many things with Jamboard. It's a great tool. Other things you can do. Oh, or just type it in the Google search bar. Yep.
Welcome to Zoom.
I'm sorry? Huh, okay.
I think it's someone logging in, Sarah. I think you just need to be muted.
Yeah, I got that. Thank you. All right. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is important. Mindfulness is something we're going to do with any kid, and we can do it with kids and grown-ups. Share YouTube videos and watch them together. You have that ability here, which is pretty cool. You can find other videos that might be appropriate. There are some that talk about the coronavirus and for younger kids and middle school kids, and some that talk about it for closer to adult level of comprehension. My one caution with this, if you're going to use videos, really, you need to personally, by yourself, watch them front to back and know, because sometimes they sneak in ads that you don't necessarily want to expose your child to. And sometimes they're just not appropriate. So if you're going to use a video, you need to know it from start to finish. Board games are fun. You do the moving, and the child can instruct you. I have done that with Jenga with kids. It's a lot of fun. And then I know how much they really like me if they make me knock it over right away. Yoga. You can do yoga together. Yoga's fun. Kids like it. You can also go through an emotions chart. And there's one right here. If you Google hopeforhurtingkids.com emotions chart, you will end up here. Hope for the number 4, hurtingkids.com. Actually, I can stick that in the chat when it comes back. All right. So as I said earlier, kids don't necessarily know emotions. And they might come to me and say, Mom was really mad. Okay, we're going to break out and we're going to look at this. I'm going to scroll through it and I'm going to say, all right, so Mom was mad. What else could Mom be? Do you think she has any of these other feels? Oh, wait, fearful, maybe that one? Okay. You can use emotions charts for so many things. And that's the Earl. Oh, hold on. There we go. All right. Again, you are in the corner, you're in a room with your kids. You can ask them to go and make a calm down corner. You're in their house. You can ask them to make a place where they feel safe, and you can have them show you that. You can work with them, make suggestions. If you've done show and tell and you know that their squishy ball helps them feel calm, you can say, well, why don't you go put that in your calming corner? You can coach them through stuff that we can't do in our school offices. Role playing. This can work with really small kids all the way up to grown-ups. Have them grab a stuffed animal or a sock puppet. Sometimes older kids love doing that. And role play. If there's something bothering them, have them do that. It's easier to work through their feelings when it's something that's not another person, as I'm sure you guys know. And lastly, just talk together. Be real. Be congruent. Be like you would in an office and just have a conversation. And for some of our kids, especially the older kids, you will find that they're a lot more free talking through a video device than they are face to face, because that's what they do. It's what they spend a lot of their time on, and they're home in their own spaces, and that gives them another feeling of comfort and ability to say things. And there's good and bads to that, we all know. But definitely just talk with them, because right now they're looking for connections. They're looking for a safe place to ask questions, to vent. So be that person. Yeah, that's not the most diverse emotions chart. There are some out there. Definitely Google it. And that would be great to share with me too. Oops. So I always encourage counselors, especially when you're working in the home and you have this ability, to include the parents. Especially right now, I think it's so important. I think I can do that. Eileen, can I do that? Share the PowerPoint?
Oh, I would love if you would mind sharing this PowerPoint. I think others would really appreciate it, Sarah, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, if you can find a place to stick it, I can share it. Thanks.
Actually, we can put it the same place that we put the video recording, because we'll post that as well.
Okay.
Virginia,
I can put it on the CSCA resources website as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks, ladies, for being there. So I was saying before I read that, include the parents. They are stuck in a house with their parents. And anything that you can do to help that relationship is only going to help your kids. So suggest things: scrapbooking, Play-Doh, finger painting with kitchen supplies. I put a list in the PowerPoint. Decorate the windows with mandalas or something positive. Just find a way, if you can, to get those parents and those kids communicating. And this is hard. And if you're stuck in the house with your own kids, oh my gosh, this is challenging. We are stuck there together and we cannot escape. So I'm going to encourage you guys, one presentation does not necessarily create competence. So I would really love it if you guys would take some time and invest some time into becoming a little more competent in online counseling. At the very least, practice. Find another school counselor, include your school social workers and school psychologists, because we are all going to be doing very similar work, I have a feeling. Work with them, get comfortable with the platform you're going to be using. Get in there, have someone join you, and hit every single button that there is to hit and see what it does. Get competent. Role play a counseling session. See how it feels. Figure out where you need all your stuff in your room to be comfortable. There are lots of trainings online. Look, find some of them. The teleplay therapy. Our play therapy colleagues out there have put together some amazing things in the past few days that I have just seen on Facebook. So go and Google teleplay therapy. If you work with small kids, big kids, or grown-ups, it helps. PESI, P-E-S-I, had a telehealth training. It's 12.5 hours long. So if you have time to invest and you have nothing better to do, it really goes through a lot that as a school counselor you're not going to need to know, because we don't get to choose our platforms. We don't get to choose a lot of the things. They're just getting handed to us by our districts. But I can tell you it's good information. The code that was working online 2 days ago was Telefree. I don't know that it still is. I think it is, but I tried it 2 days ago. And lastly, you need to take care of yourselves while you're out there counseling. It's important because the same things that are triggering your kids right now are going to trigger you. When I'm talking with kids and they're saying, I'm worried about this virus and I'm worried that it's going to kill my grandma. Well, you know what? I'm worried about my grandma too. So let's be real. We share that. So be mindful of that. Be careful. Take care of yourself. Reach out to your colleagues who are doing the same thing if you can, and just say, hey, this is hard and I need to talk about it. If you have your own counselor, that's fabulous too. But find your people and reach out to them. Remember, you don't need to know it all. You are not an expert. You are someone who is bringing hope and connection and doing your best to help this kid who is in a really bizarre situation they're never prepared for. You're trying to help them figure out how they're going to navigate it. And you don't have the answers. And you can't change it. We can just accept it and work together.
Sarah, if I could mention that tomorrow we have another opportunity for virtual roundtable. If people need some more support, it's at 4 o'clock tomorrow. The link is on our CSCA website, and it is open to all people who are providing these kinds of services, whether you're a CSCA member or not. Of course, we hope that those who are not CSCA members will consider joining so that we can continue to provide the advocacy and the professional learning and this kind of a community. So just wanted to mention we have another opportunity tomorrow, which is Wednesday, and on Thursday and Friday as well. But tomorrow is at 4 o'clock.
Excellent to join. I've sat in on one. It was awesome. And I just got asked privately to talk about telehealth and licensure. School counselors are in a different group than a licensed clinician. You are not going to do this individually outside of your school counseling certification. You're not going to be meeting with kids on the side unless you are licensed to do so. Anybody have questions? Shout them out if you do.
I'm curious, Sarah, if CSCA members would be interested in maybe like a half hour in the afternoons, because I think a lot of people are getting overwhelmed with this new way of doing things. If CSCA members would be interested in doing like a mindfulness just activity for us for like a half hour. I know myself as well as a couple other board members are interested in doing meditations and things like that. I'm just curious if there's an interest in providing some Zoom calls to do that over the next few weeks.
That sounds awesome.
I would be interested in that.
That sounds great, Virginia.
And are there other needs you have? If you could please put it in the chat box, let us know. We're here to try to meet those needs during this time.
Sarah, thank you for doing this for everyone today. This was fantastic. And I am so glad that we got through the call with 300 people on with no issues.
Wow. Wow.
If people didn't see in the chat, we are recording this. It will be made available to you, and feel free to share it with other colleagues who couldn't attend today, as well as the PowerPoint. That'll all be on the resource page that Virginia created, that she put the link to in the chat, and I'll make sure it's emailed to all participants as well.
All right. Thank you guys all so much for being here, for being part of this, and for all you're doing for our kids out there. There's a lot of them having a hard time.